The first time I saw her kneel, I realized the galaxy was built on a lie. Chains of light bound her wrists, glowing faintly blue against skin that shimmered like pearl under the station's artificial sun. She didn't look broken. That was the worst part. Her eyes were calm, ancient and unbearably resigned, like someone who had already survived the end of the world and was waiting for the rest of it to catch up. And she was labeled property. I was supposed to sign the transfer and walk away. Instead, something inside me cracked open. But that was only the beginning. The auction hall of Virex Station smelled of ozone and recycled breath. Thousands of species passed through here. Traders, warlords, diplomats, all pretending not to notice the line between civilization and cruelty dissolving beneath their boots. The Car Dominion called it personal servitude, a legal tradition, a cultural necessity. I called it slavery. My name is Ethan Cole, former Earth defense pilot, recently discharged, recently lost. Earth was still recovering from the Coalition War, and so was I. I'd come to Virex to escort cargo, keep my head down, and forget the ghosts that followed me through vacuum and sleep. Then I saw her. She stood among others like her, Zalari, tall, luminous beings engineered long ago for empathy and neural bonding. The Dominion prized them not for strength, but for obedience, for devotion, for the way they could be molded into whatever their owner desired. When the auctioneer announced her designation, Personal Unit LX7, the room hummed with interest. She didn't look at the crowd. She looked at me. I don't know how I knew it was me. Maybe it was the way her eyes widened just slightly. Maybe it was the sudden pressure in my chest, like gravity had doubled without warning. What I saw next changed everything. The bidder beside me laughed. That one's rare. High emotional intelligence. Bonds deeply. Dangerous if you're weak. Weak. The word echoed in my skull. I watched cities burn. I'd held dying friends in my arms. If that was weakness, then so be it. The bidding climbed fast. Credits I didn't have. Numbers that meant nothing. I should have walked away. I should have remembered the mission, the rules, the cost. Instead, I raised my hand. The hall went quiet. I emptied every account. Sold my ship on the spot. Signed debt contracts that would haunt me for decades. When the final call rang out, the auctioneer smiled like a predator. Sold. The chain on her wrists dissolved. She swayed, catching herself before falling. A handler pushed her toward me. Congratulations, he said. She's yours. She lowered herself to her knees again, forehead touching the cold metal floor. I live to serve, she whispered, voice like wind through glass. Something in me shattered completely. I don't own you, I said louder than I meant to. Heads turned. The handler frowned. Stand up. She hesitated. Fear flickered across her face, not of punishment but of uncertainty. Slowly she rose. My name is Ethan, I said. What's yours? She blinked confused. I'm LX7. No, I said. Your real name. Silence stretched. The microhook tightened its grip. Then barely audible. Asha. The word felt sacred. I freed her that night. It wasn't dramatic. No explosions. Just paperwork, loopholes, and one clause buried deep in Dominion law. Any sentient who completed a voluntary bond with a non-Dominion citizen could petition for emancipation. Bonding was permanent, intimate, sacred among the Zalari, and forbidden. She stared at the contract, hands trembling. If I bond, she said, I belong to you forever. No, I replied. You belong to yourself. I just stand with you. But that was only the beginning. The bond nearly killed me. When our minds touched, the universe fell away. I felt her memories, generations of servitude, love twisted into obedience, loyalty weaponized. I felt her fear of hope. She felt my guilt, my anger, the weight of Earth's debt pressing on my soul. We screamed together. When I woke, I was on the floor of a rented hab, medics shouting in 3 languages. Asha knelt beside me, unchained, tears streaming down her luminous face. You're free, I gasped. She shook her head. No, we are. None of us were prepared for the truth. The Dominion didn't tolerate defiance. Within days, warrants were issued. My face flooded the networks. Asha was declared stolen property. A retrieval fleet was dispatched. We ran. From shadow ports to forgotten moons, we fled through the cracks of civilization. And in those quiet moments between alarms and hyperspace jumps, something unexpected happened. She laughed. The first time it startled both of us. A small sound, fragile and new. Then she asked questions. About Earth. About rain. About why humans sang when they were sad. I taught her how to choose her own clothes. She taught me how to listen without trying to fix everything. But the bond changed us. I could feel her emotions like echoes in my chest. Fear. Wonder. Love, terrifying and bright. Around the midpoint of our flight, the truth finally surfaced. The bond hadn't just freed her. It had awakened something ancient. Asha was not merely Zalari. She was a prime, one of the original architects of her species, genetically locked into servitude to prevent rebellion. The Dominion hadn't known. Or maybe they had and buried it. If they capture me, she said quietly, they will erase what I am. What we are. What I saw next changed everything. The Dominion fleet cornered us near the dead star Icarian. Weapons charged. No escape vectors. My hands shook on the controls. I won't let them take you, I said. Asha took my face in her hands. You already saved me, she whispered. Now let me save us. She stepped onto the hull unprotected, light blazing from her skin. Space itself seemed to bend. The dead star pulsed. The fleet froze. Through the bond I felt her awakening fully, commanding energy older than empires. She spoke not with words but with truth. The Dominion ships powered down. Systems overridden. Crews wept, overwhelmed by emotions they buried under law and tradition. The galaxy held its breath. In the aftermath the Dominion fell, not by war but by revelation. Other Zalari awoke. Chains dissolved across sectors. Empires rewrote their laws or burned. And Asha chose to stay with me. Not because of the bond. Not because of obligation. Because she wanted to. We returned to Earth years later, not as fugitives but as ambassadors. On a quiet hill beneath an open sky, I asked her to marry me. Not as owner, not as savior, but as equal. She smiled, radiant and free. Yes, she said. I choose you. The ceremony was small. Human vows. Zalari light. Two worlds woven together. Sometimes at night she still remembers the chains. Sometimes I still remember the war. But we remind each other who we are now. The galaxy calls her a liberator. A symbol. I just call her my wife. And the lie that built the stars finally began to crumble the day she stood up and took my hand.